Okay, so we're recording. So here's a model I created way before. So it's literally just like one model like this. I've separated out the head, so the head itself is one separate piece. So they're two different models. Um, let's see if I can They look like that. The body part has a little gun. Actually, let's delete the rest of the shite. We don't need them for now. Okay, so we've got a little gun there, and that's the one I'm going to use for my holster rig. And the head itself is separate because I want to use morpher targets on it. So the head itself is here, and I haven't put any morpher targets on it, but these are the oh, come on. These are the morpher targets, so literally just like this one only does eyebrows, this one only does like big eyes, this one does puffy cheeks, and that one's like a frowny mouth. When you're making morpher targets, just remember to make only specifically one change that you want to have. So like my first one is both eyebrows going down, which means I can never have like only the left eyebrow or only the right eyebrow. If I wanted to, I would have to make two different targets. One is only the left eyebrow, one's only the right eyebrow, if that makes sense. So for each specific facial feature you want to change, you create a morph target for that specific facial feature, because the morph target will look for any changes in geometry, so it'll only take that change in geometry. So yeah, you can see for like very complex morph targets, they'll have hundreds of these faces. We don't need hundreds, but like especially in animation, they need like one for every phoneme, and then another one for every phoneme when you're angry, and another one for every phoneme when you're sad. So like it's a huge bunch of faces that you're targeting. But in our case with games, we generally just need to target a few, and just for the sake of being quick, I'm only gonna do like I'm not gonna do each eyebrow at a time. I should if I wanted to. So let's go to back to this. So these are my models, and I will alt text to make them transparent, and I've frozen them already. In the create panel, go to cat objects, go to cat parent. Make sure your snaps are turned on. So you want to snap to the grid right below. And you want to drag the triangle out about the size of your like bounding area of your character. It doesn't really matter, but like it does control the size of the pelvis that shows up. So here's my pelvis, and I'm going to work away from here down into the pelvis area. I want the sides of the pelvis to kind of begin where, if you imagine the top of your what's your thigh bone called? Is it your femur? Whatever that ball joint is, where it hits the actual pelvis in a real character, in a real person, that flat side here and here should be at that ball joint. So I think, as I mentioned, cat rigs are just one way of rigging. There is like specific bone rigs, but with bone rigs you get way more control, but also you need to make way more settings. You need to change way more settings. Like with this, we can just go leg, and it knows how to make a full leg. So I'm going to do a leg first. So we have our platform here. Now I've modeled this a little bit stupidly, or I did when I first made it. So I kind of need to make sure the platform is aiming the same as the foot, if that makes sense. You want to align the platform with the sole of the foot. And I'm going to have to go to local now because I made this stupidly. And you want this to be the ankle, so we'll put that where the joint is going to be for the ankle, not the actual foot. And then the knee. The knee bends around here. You see I've made some segments for the knee bend, so the knee's actually bending quite high up because it's a little chibi character. Now what you want to do is give it a little bit of a bend forwards, and the reason for this is like you can't do legs like that, like the chicken walker. Like you can make rigs like that, but we don't want that in this case. So I want to give it a little bit of a bend forwards, just enough so Max knows. And remember again, oh, make sure that's local. Yeah, you can size it fatter, but you can't size it longer. And we're trying to size it so it fills the area. And the reason why I size this is hopefully the automatic envelopes will grab the right areas by themselves. Add a foot bone. And I'm going to do a little trick here. I'll just do a... Where's the gizmo? Oh, okay, I can't add a gizmo for this, maybe. Add gizmo. So I'm going to add a... Let's do a circle. Oh, where's my stupid gizmos, tiny? Anyone see radius anywhere? Radial, the thickness. Oh, radius there. Okay, so what a gizmo does, it's basically like a handle. So this gizmo should allow me to control the ankle. See that? So I don't have to go in and grab the actual ankle. So you'll often see gizmos added at areas where there's wrists, ankles, kind of like bones that are hidden in that you may want to control, but you don't want to actually zoom in and grab them. You can add like a gizmo. Cool. Just gonna hide my character because it's in the way. So I think that's pretty good for the leg. Let me drop down. And now the last thing is to do an up node. So, and any of the upper thigh or the lower, just use an up node and grab that up node. I don't know why it exists inside. And make sure the knee is facing where you want it to. Cool. Alright, that's done. Just add leg again. We've got 2 legs. Job done. Going to do spine. Comes in with 5 by default. The top one is going to be a chest. So I'm going to call this category. The number of bones is dependent on how like granular you want the bend to be, because it's like a fat little chibi character. I don't need that many spine bones, so I'm just going to make it do 3. Yeah, that should be good. Size this up, and again, similar to before, you kind of want the side of the bones to be kind of where the shoulder comes from. More the collarbone, but kind of around, because you'll have a collarbone connecting to the arm as well. Okay, does that fill? Cool. Okay, then I'll do the arm. Once again, you see there's a collarbone there, but once again, grab the palm first. I'm going to try and bring it this way. And the palm starts out facing downwards, so I want to align it. That's about right. And I have a very simple character, so it will probably only have 2 digits. Let's just give it those digits now. And for each digit, like, this one should only really have 1 bone, to be honest. I'm getting a lot of shadowing, so I'm just going to turn off the lighting for shadows. Sorry about that. Now it's flickering a bit. So again, working my way up. Putting it there. That's pretty good. I'm putting this where the shoulder joint is. There. And in human bodies, the clavicle usually comes a little bit further forwards from the chest. Like if you look at the anatomy of a skeleton, you'll see we have the collarbone here, the little clavicle, and that's connected to the front as opposed to the back. So we're going to emulate that by moving this a bit forward. And in more complex rigs, you can basically make this control. You can skin this to the top of the kind of chest here, and it controls that motion. So when you move your arm, it looks like you can kind of squish your chest forward, if that makes sense. And again, I'm trying to keep it like giving it a little bend backwards, just a tiny little bend, so it knows which way to bend. Okay, pretty good. I'm going to size them now. For a simple rig like this, I probably don't need to worry too much about the collarbone. Kind of I want to, but shouldn't be the biggest deal. And up note again. And remember, the arm up note is different. It only reacts during animation. So the bottom, the knee ones, you can move them now, the knee will bend. These only react during animation. And if you want to, you can also add a gizmo to the palm. Don't really care about that, but sure. And let's do one on the chest as well. Actually, let's do one on the pelvis. So the gizmos don't affect anything; they just allow you to control that bone. So they're not going to affect the geometry or the rigging. Save. Now the final one is the final spine for the head. In this case, I've like no neck at all, so I'm just going to make it no bone. Well, 1 bone. I need 1 bone. Then this would be the head. I'm gonna try to not make it that big because I want to see the head moving when I morph. So I'll leave it at that for now. And that's the full rig. Oh no, it's gone. So adding a bone here. But I'm actually going to unlink it. Right now it's linked to the palm because it's where I created it, but I can do an unlink. And now it's just this random bone that appears by itself. Don't know where it's gone. And I can give it the right name. Oh, that's annoying. I can align it to the world, hopefully. There we go. So that's the handle. I might want another little bone here for like a squish when it shoots. Let's do that. Cool, so these two are childed together, but they're not childed to any bones. And what we're going to do with them is we're going to give them something called a link constraint. So I will link them first to like maybe this leg here. So it'll holster on there. And then when we grab it, it will then link to the palm and stick to the palm. We can also drop it, in which case we'll link to the world and it'll drop down on the ground, be linked to the world. Cool, so I think we're almost ready to skin. The last thing I need to do is go to the head. And remember I was going to do a morpher on this. I need to do the morpher before the skin. You can do it after and then drag it down in the hierarchy of the modifier. But we are going to just do it now because it makes it easier. So it'll morph first and then get skinned to that bone. So click number 1 and I'm going to slowly just pick all the objects. You can directly pick them from the scene, but because they're frozen, I'll just pick them from the Scene Explorer. I'm just going to test that. So you should see, there you go, number 1's working, number 2, number 3, and number 4. And again, you can combine them and they'll only use their individual changes from each target. Cool, so that's grand. Let's go ahead and skin. You can also...
How did you make those head thing? Like, how did you,
Oh, the targets?
yeah.
So you literally grab like the head
Mhm.
and you just copy. So drag it out, just do a copy, and that change this then. So either you can export this and go to, if it's a very complex shape, you probably want to go to either Mudbox or ZBrush and do like deformations on it, so you can have wrinkles drawn in or whatever. But in this case, I literally just went to the modifier panel and just changed like the editable poly, if that makes sense. If people have seen, it's becoming way more common in games. Came from movies as always, where the wrinkles on the face or like the ripples on the body or whatever changes. You don't really do that in animation here. Like for that tiny, tiny detail, you'd have to have so many polygons that it'd be a bit ridiculous. What is done for that is usually something called a dynamic normal map. So basically it blends from one normal map to the other. So if you imagine like when I did this where it's angry, I might want to blend in a normal map where there's like wrinkles up here where the eyebrows meet. But that would usually be done in Engine using like shader graph and some code to basically like, oh, when this animation plays, do change the normal map to this normal map. And it blends smoothly between them. But that is complex, a little bit more complex stuff. Like we're getting AAA territory. So what was I? Oh yeah, I was going to skin. So I'm grabbing two of these, and I can add a skin modifier to both. And that just allows me to add all the bones individually. I still need to edit envelopes each one individually, but I can just do all the adding of bones and stuff at the same time. Just makes it easier. Again, alt click to solo, so I don't want to see anything else except bones. Do I want to rig to my ankles? I don't think I want to rig to the ankles. I'll just have the ankles there, but they're not rigged. Yeah, I think that's good. Just going to do the head first. Oh no, I need to make them not transparent. Select vertices, grab them all, and this one is easy. Just everything just follow the head. I could leave it as it is, where the bottom... Yeah, do you know what? Let's leave it as it is and see how that works. Might look terrible. We can change it later. Let's do another added envelopes in this. And again, you could have extra bones here for the hair and stuff like that, but for now I'm just going to do the easiest, cheapest way. So these all look pretty good. That one's going to be a problem. We'll look at that now in a sec. So before I even go and edit, like the first thing I probably want to do is start animation, which I can delete later. Add an absolute layer, press play, and add an animation on it. Auto. Oh, and the freaking gizmos always go back in for the arms. It's super annoying. Not the gizmos, the up nodes. Control click to open like that if anyone doesn't know. Where are my up nodes? Okay, that's being affected way too much by the body. That foot's not affecting this at all. The legs actually look pretty good. It's just the foot's not affecting that much. Let's do the chest. The chest looks pretty good as well. Just the arms are being affected way too much by the body. And let's check the head. Oh yeah, head's affecting way too much of the body as well. And we can right now test the morpher as well. and that works fine. And it's the same, you just delete them. They don't come in as positional keyframes because they're not, they're vertex keyframes. Why is the gun getting... okay. So edit envelopes, vertices. For this one, I'm not going to do a weight paint. I'm just going to use the weight tool. Oh, there says 1 to gun barrel. That's not true, is it? That's definitely not true. It's being affected here by the head. So you see, like, if it's completely red, it means it's completely affected by the head. And I can't set it to 0 because it has no other vertices to go to. So I have to go here and individually select them, set them to 1. So that's pretty okay for this because this is fairly simple. I'm just going to test the animation of this one actually. Cool. For something like this, what I'm doing is, it's called a exaggerated squash. You want it to be really quick. So you put them really close and then you transition back, but the transition back's a little longer. Why is my time frame so big? I'm going to go to 0 to 100. So this one's almost instant. Boom, and then goes back. Let's see how that plays out in real time. Too slow still. Oh, I'm playing at a quarter speed, lol. So you see, like, when you actually look at it in real time, it just looks like a tiny little burst, even though I'm actually squishing it almost half. If I want to be super fancy, I can even have a overextend back, so it kind of like squishes down and pops back out before returning back. So that you get that kind of little boing effect. I don't know if you saw that. So like, that's just for our full later animation. So that works fine. So let's go here. Now I wouldn't generally weight paint, but let's try the weight painting. It is awful. So this circle shows the radius of, where's my weight table? Not my weight table. I want, there we go. So this circle can be controlled by here, like max size here. If I drop that down, you see the circle gets smaller. If you have as you can see, there's pressure sensitivity size. If you have a tablet, let's do size and strength. Yeah, size and strength. If you have a tablet, you'll be able to use pressure sensitivity as well. So max strength is, yeah. We can mirror. I don't think I want to mirror right now. And if you don't want the ring at all, you can just turn off the ring. And if you don't want the normal, you can turn that off as well. But I kind of want to see them. And then the height of that normal is here, obviously. So there's all these little options. These are just like quality of life options. The marker just kind of shows you the direction of the normal. You don't have to have it. So that's fine. So really, I personally would paint weights just to, let me see if my pressure sensitivity will work. My max strength isn't high enough. It seems to be going away from me.
You need to hit the connecting joint for it to work.
I need to what?
Hit the connecting joint at which it does, and then it starts doing the whole thing each is connected to. Well, that's how I did it when I was weight painting.
Oh, that's not normal. So what, you selected both joints?
So like the
I think you have
side
to
of the
turn
hand.
off paint blend weights.
Yeah, maybe. Oh yeah, thank you. My strength's a bit too high now.
Oh, sorry, you cut it out there.
I said my strength's a bit too high, so I dropped it.
Okay, cool.
I should actually make the CAD transparent to be easier to see.
Would it not be easier, Baz, since it's like low poly to do vertex painting?
Absolutely would be. I'm just trying to show this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like it's working pretty okay for me. I'm not sure what the issues people are having are, but I would probably have to look at your model to see.
Yeah, sorry, I misworded it. I actually did the vertex stuff. I just thought it was called painting as well. See,
Oh, I see. Okay.
sorry, I in my head like weight painting was all one thing. Well, I know what you mean. I still had issues though. Um, since I have like since the chibi body's all one part, like I'd have to like select exact vertices for like the forearm for example, but like sometimes like the left foot would somehow get attached to it even though it says zero influence. Do you know what I mean? But like I got there in the end, but it just I was just looking at my model there for a sec, and I think you know the up node things, I think that was affecting my shoulder.
Okay.
I don't
They shouldn't be added. You can add them. That's why when I add the bones, I alt click to solo only bones, so it only shows me bones. Because you can add other things and they can influence.
Yeah.
Ugh. So yeah, this is kind of a pain, and it just takes forever to do any rigging, really.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm selecting the wrong bone. Dang it. Okay. Actually, I'm going to grab the head and make sure the head doesn't influence anything. So this is where I'll go to this weight tool instead of painting, because I can just grab everything. Okay, that's why the shoulder pad was getting screwy. The head was controlling it. Okay, and then it was my foot, I think, that had the issue. Yeah, it's not affecting at all. This is my left foot. Oh, did it not get added? Ankle bone 001. Did I not add them? Oh, dang it. I added the ankles and didn't add these bones. That's annoying. But that's fine. I should be able to vertex select them in. So if you add a bone later, it won't have any influence at all. You may sometimes want to do that. I just screwed up in this case. But it can be added later, it just won't affect anything. So the calculation of the influence only happens in the initial add. Just for any vertex paint, you can also do stuff like ringing and looping. So looping goes on the edge loop all around, ringing goes this way all around, which might be useful. You can also do stuff like a grow. So it grows whatever your selection is. Let's put that at 0.75 maybe. And then we'll grab these. Put them at 1. Does that work? Maybe I'll make this. Maybe that'll be 0.8. So I can set a weight here. See what it looks like. Yeah, a little better. Yeah, it looks pretty okay. So I've done all of the left side of the body, so I should just be able to copy it over. Oh, mirror mode is not allowed. Why? Okay, I guess something was wrong with the model. I'm not allowed to use mirror mode. Possibly something with the symmetry of the model. Which is kind of annoying. Oh, because the gun's here. Dang it. Okay, so it can't detect asymmetry in between. So it's not allowing me to mirror. That's annoying. Well, do it by hand.
Wait, doesn't it only allow you to click it when you click edit envelopes?
It should. Oh, please tell me that's all I missed. It sometimes doesn't allow you to mirror either. Oh, thank you, Megan.
Ah, no problem. That happened to me, so I remember.
So I want blue to green verts. Way. Oh, it's kind of messy here, actually. I might go fix that. And on the knee as well. No, the knee's okay, but here. Is that messy? Oh no, it's meant to bend here, so that's okay. But yeah, you see, like, if I go to the mirror thing again, these orange or red areas are where it can't detect symmetry, so it can't propagate, like, the shoulder pads can't propagate. So those areas will not be able to mirror, but you're completely right, Megan. It's only when you turn on edit envelopes that you'll see that. Coolie. So yeah, oh good. Cool. So the animation's pretty decent there, and it should still animate with facial animation. Great stuff. And then the final one is the link constraints. So that's in this one. I need to go to the animation. And I'm going to change this animation to link constraints. I'm going to assign a controller. Link constraints. Okay, so this bone now forever will be using link constraints. So let me just put it into the first position. It's freaking huge. Okay, there. It's going to clip in the ground, but whatever. And then I want to link to this bone here. So I can add a link at scale 0.0 to that bone, which now hopefully means, see the way it's moving with the bone? So it's following that bone. You need to make sure to turn off adding link. So you see the way it's like following. Cool. And let's say I want to pick it up then. So let me go to 20 and the hand will pick up the gun here. Oh, why did I bring it back? No, my ankle. Dang it. So I need to make a gizmo. So it doesn't, sorry, I forgot about that. It doesn't copy the gizmos. That's really annoying. Super annoying. Oh no, do I have to? annoyingly, because it's chibi, I don't have a lot of range of motion. So I'm just going to fudge it and move this to the palm. Okay, and then let's go back to the link constraint again. I'll probably turn off the model just so I can see. So at point 20 is where the hand comes in to grab it, right? Which is fine. So at 19, I'm just going to keep making sure it has a link. Cool, that's fine. And then at 20, I will change the link to the palm. So now, if I go forward to 30 and say have the arm come up, it should, yay, bring the gun with. Coolie bops, and that's all good. That's all fine, and let's leave it floating in the world. So add a link. So now when I go to 40 and move the arm back, it should stay in the world. Still kind of getting influence. Let me check that in a sec. Oh, okay. I don't know why that. It's fine now. Okay, cool. All right. Cool. And then for each thing, like the morphers, just go to the head, and you'll need to do the morphers in the modifier instead. And for the animation, the rest of the animation, you go as normal. It's very weird. It looks like it animates while I'm animating, but then it leaves it after. Strange. Maybe because it's still being affected at this point. I'm not sure. Cool. Any questions? I don't know if you were talking there, Dar, but it's cut out.
No, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Oh, that's a cat tutorial you posted in. Great stuff. Cool. All right, so that's basically the full range of most of the ranges of animation. There's a bunch of other different constraints. So it's as opposed. There's link constraints, and there is also a bunch of other different ones. To be honest, most of the time you're going to be messing with link constraints. Sometimes if you want a specific, for example, rotation mode, you can go to position and change only the position one. So like you can set, you see the way it says path constraint? You can have a path and you'll link on the position to that path and it'll follow that path. And then it's rotation. And rotation will either slave, you can do a look at, which is actually kind of useful. A look at is where it will look at something. So let me just make a dummy here. I forgot how to create dummy. I think it's under helpers, is it? Yeah, dummy. So dummy is just an empty point. If you import it to Unity, it will come in. It'll just come in as an empty game object. It's kind of nice. So let's put that here. And I'll do a look at constraint on this one. On the rotation. And now I have a look at target. You can animate it as well, so you can change different targets. But for this, let's add a look at target to that. And you can control the weight of it as well. In this case, I only have one thing, so it's only just going to look at one thing. So basically, you can have two things, and it looks between them. And you can see that this is looking at that target now. And if I animate this, you'll see it follows. So one good thing with this actually is you can do it for like, you see it looks like a kind of a dog looking at that. One good thing with this is you can animate tank turrets or any turret really. And what you can do is, instead of me giving animation like I have here, you can have no animation. So it just comes as an empty game object into Unity. And this empty game object is empty, so you can basically move that in Unity, either through code or animation or whatever it is, and this bone will keep the look at constraint and will keep looking at it. So that's how you can kind of see people like having a gun turret that aims somewhere, or even you can have it on upper bodies and it kind of aims towards a certain position, and that's controlled by having that empty game object there that you can move.
Will this work even outside of animation?
Yeah. So like, as long as I don't add a keyframe there, that's why I deleted them tab. Because if I add a keyframe, the keyframe always overrides everything. So if I put like, this here, this overrides whatever I'm going to do in code. It's going to conflict. It'll try and follow this, right? But if I have... Sorry?
You cut out for most of that.
Okay, sorry. So I'll start again. I want to not have a keyframe on it, because you can see here I've had a keyframe, and that means it will override whatever I'm trying to do in code. So they'll conflict with each other. I don't want to have any keyframes on the game object, or this empty, so that in Unity I can move that empty in code or in animation in Unity, whatever I want to do. But there's no conflicting information, and in which case it will still work. So this bone is linked to that, and all it knows is just look at that thing and just make sure that this thing doesn't have any animation, so you can move it in Unity, and it should work in Unity.
Okay.
What else was there? I'm not sure what else you wanna... No, that's fine. If you're having issues with rotation, like this hasn't happened to me in a long time. It's getting pretty good now. But sometimes in the past, I had issues where I'm trying to make the arm kind of like bend down, but instead of bending from here to here, it kind of does like a weird circle thing. If you're having those issues, you may want to look at rotation and change it to TCB rotation, which is a more basic rotation. But generally, I haven't found that to be an issue these days. And then finally, you got your scale, where you can like slave scale, so like you scale to something. You look at something else in the scene, and whenever that thing scales, you scale with. So that might be useful if you want to have like, let me think, say like a long pipe or something, and you want to have it like they all adjust based on each other's scale. You might scale them, you might slave them all to each other, and they would scale accordingly. So I actually can add a, no, let's leave it at that. I think I can add a scale as well as a lookout. Should be able to, because they're in different Oh no, I can't. Can I? No, I can't. That's annoying. Should be able to though. No, oh well. Yeah, defaults back to slay scale. Let me control it. No, okay. That's sad. Cool. All right. Any other questions?
When you're like weight painting, let's say you paint like the upper leg bone and the lower leg bone. If you're on the upper leg bone, you like paint down to the lower leg bone region, and then you go to weight paint the lower leg bone. Can you like overwrite the weight
Oh
paint
yeah,
from the
yeah,
upper
yeah.
leg?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You totally can. Like whatever you're painting will override whatever is on there. It's just
Okay.
adding more strength to whatever bone you're selecting. You can also erase bones, but only if the other, erase weights, but only if the other vertex already has another bone that it's also connected to. So when you erase
Okay.
it, it'll go more to the other bones. I think it's like Control or Alt or something.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool. All right. Anything else people want covered for today?
Can you have a look at my animatic?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So let me stop screen sharing.